You are listening to the Embrace the Mud podcast, where we discuss all things related to healthy, joyful, and life-giving relationships. Why focus on relationships? Because the quality of our intimate partnerships and close connections influences our health, happiness, and longevity more than anything else in our lives. Relationships matter a lot, so together, let's jump into the mud, aka our messy relationships, pull some weeds, plant some seeds, and create an enriching environment where strong relationships can take root. I am your grateful host, Dara Posner. I am a relational disaster working toward relational mastery. I am also a positive psychology coach, a relational mindset coach, a blogger, and now a podcaster. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Embrace the Mud podcast, where we discuss all things related to healthy, joyful, life-giving relationships. If you are a fan of this podcast, please subscribe, follow, like, review, and share. Your engagement in this way is crucial to the success of the podcast, and I appreciate you taking just a few seconds to support my mission, which is to help people like you flourish in life and love. Welcome back to the Embrace the Mud podcast. And today I'm going to be sharing with you 3 tips for fighting fair. Disagreements, disappointments, misunderstandings, these things are inevitable. They absolutely will happen in your relationship. So, the real question becomes, how can you fight with your partner? How can you engage in conflict with your partner while maintaining a high regard for each other and the relationship? So that's what my 3 tips today are going to help you do, is to fight in a way that feels fair to each of you and that enables you to walk away from that conflict, that fight, still feeling deeply respected, honored, and cherished by each other. Yes, that is possible. If you're sitting there thinking, what is this woman talking about? Is that even possible? Can you have a fight and still feel honored? Yes, absolutely you can. And this isn't one of the tips, but really mindset about fights and conflict really matters a lot here. If we recognize that fighting and having conflicts in relationships is normal and even healthy, then, we don't have a negative view when that is actually happening of the relationship or of our partner. So we can absolutely have this very normal experience of fighting and having conflict without feeling that this is threatening or without feeling that it's inevitable, that somehow we are going to dishonor each other in the process. That doesn't need to happen. In fact, we want to avoid that. So that's what today's 3 tips are about. So tip number 1 for fighting fair is to know fundamentally what it is you're really fighting about. We often think that we're fighting about the dishes or where to go on vacation or how to spend our free time. But really, we're usually fighting about something deeper. And there are 3 dominant categories of what those possibilities are. The first category is power and control. So in these types of fights, we're really fighting about who gets to make the decision and whose priorities and preferences are going to, win out here. And it's really about, fighting for a balance of power and control in the relationship, which is important. We never want to feel like somebody's always getting their way, right? And we never get our way, or it's their priorities that tend to win. And so this is what we're fighting about, for instance, when, where are we going to go on vacation this year? Well, last year we went where you wanted to go, are we going to go where you want to go again this year, and how are we going to decide together in a way that feels like we both get a say, right? So that's an example of power and control, for instance, or how to parent children, or, these types of things where we have different perspectives, maybe different opinions, different preferences, and we're fighting about whose is going to win. But in a relational dynamic, we both want to walk away feeling like we've won. So that's the first category. The second category of the types of fights that you might have are around trust and care. And the question we're asking here is do you support me? Are you really there for me? can I depend on you? So in this case, it could be that, we've expressed to our partner that we had a really stressful presentation we were supposed to give at work, and we came home and they didn't ask about it. And now we're a little bit upset, right? And so we're fighting about, you haven't asked about my day, and I told you about this big thing, and you saw me working so hard to prepare. What's really happening is you don't feel cared for, and you're trying to find out, do you care? And can I depend on you? Are you there for me? And the third category is respect and recognition, and so here the deeper thing that we're really trying to find out is, do you value me? Do you respect me? Do you acknowledge me? Right? Maybe we have different views on a particular topic. It's do you value that I have my own view? Do you value what I value? Or do you maybe not share that value, but respect that I have a different value? And so that's the third category. So tip number 1 is knowing, what are we really fighting about? And why is this important? Why does this help us fight fair? Because we don't bicker back and forth then about these superficial issues, right? The surface issue is pointing to a deeper need that we have, a need to have a sense of trust, right? Or to know we're supported, or the need for knowing that, our preferences are just as important to our partner as their own preferences, and things like that. So we can get at the heart of the issue faster. The second tip is to know what you want the outcome to be. Sometimes we're fighting because a decision needs to be made, and we're trying to figure out what that right decision is for us. Or we're trying to solve a problem, and we have different perspectives on how to go about it. Or there's a need that we want to get met, or we want to bring awareness to something, or, whatever other possibilities exist. So what is it that we're trying to actually accomplish? I would like for us to make a decision about, there's this problem, I'd really love us to solve it. There's a need that I have that I want to figure out how it can get met in a way that works for us both. So know what it is that you want to accomplish. And then the third thing, and so important, the third tip is attack the issue, not each other, right? And so, very common example of chores around the house, right? It's really, really easy to go on the attack of the other person, and saying you don't help out, you don't care that I like things tidy, you leave a big old mess, you're a messy person. But really what we want to attack is the issue. Hey, there's a lot that needs to be done around here. I'm feeling really overwhelmed. What can we do to work together to get all of these things done? And really just looking at the struggle that is, the overwhelm that comes from the many things to do, and how can we team up and get them done together, rather than, going after or having a critique of the other person, their character or their personality or their habits or anything like that. We want to avoid that as much as possible. Fighting fair requires that, we kind of stay focused on the issue, that we're side to side, shoulder to shoulder, looking at the issue together, rather than getting into a situation where there's this issue and you're on one side of it and I'm on the other side of it, and it's just this big thing that's in between us. No, we want to be a team. We want to be focused on the issue. We want to be both looking at it, not looking and pointing fingers at one another. So those are my 3 tips for fighting fair. I hope that helps. And I hope that somewhere in there you learned something new. And maybe, a new way of looking at fighting, or a new way of going about it, so that when you do enter into conflict, which you will with your partner, you can have a better experience around it, and maybe even be brought closer through that conflict or difficult experience or fight. So that's what I have for you today. I'll be back very soon for another episode of the Embrace the Mud podcast. And in the meantime, please remember, you are wired for love and connection. You are capable of love and connection. You are worthy of love and connection. I'll see you soon.